Good day, everyone. This is Leo Chase from Mythmaster, and I just want to say that was the best movie ever. I decided to record that just after finishing the movie on the afternoon of December 20th, 2025, so you could get my initial reaction. If you've been keeping up with my reviews, you will know that I loved the first two Scream movies, but was sorely disappointed by the third, and almost stopped there, not wanting them to ruin the characters anymore. But I decided to watch the rest because I generally like to finish what I start, and I'm so glad I did. Leo Chase from Mythmaster here with my review of Scream 4. I was feeling on a bit of a Scream high after hearing Matthew Lillard was going to be in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and I had some time to kill. Full spoilers ahead, and at least at the time of writing this, I just want to say that this movie is a 10 out of 10, but only because of how far along in the franchise it is. I'll try and organise my thoughts, and I'll start by saying how my suspect list progressed before going on to how I think the legacy characters were handled, before then saying who I think killed who, and things I liked and loved about the movie. So I'll start by telling you all the people I had on my suspect list throughout the movie, and then I'll go into a bit more detail on why. I suspected basically everybody because, well, everyone's a suspect, but I think my main suspect list was Judy, Kate, Kirby, Jill, Olivia, Marnie, Jenny, Rebecca, and Charlie. First of all, that opening was amazing, and I had Marnie and Jenny on my list because I thought one of them would be killed and the other would survive and turn out to be a ghost face, but that turned out to be false. For most of the movie, I decided there would be two killers, but I wondered if there might be three, some of whom might be acting independently, which would make it harder to figure out who the ghost faces were. Going into it, I thought I'd heard that Judy the police lady was a murderer, and even without that, I would have been suspicious of her right up until the proper reveal. We were introduced to Jill, Kirby, and Olivia all at once, and they all went onto the list immediately and stayed there for most of their time. Olivia left when she died. My suspicions of Jill went on standby for some of the time, at Kirby's house, as at that point I thought Kirby would be one of the killers, and I know it couldn't be Kirby and Jill, because of the Olivia death scene, unless there were three. Jill did go back on when Robbie was killed, because she seemed like the most likely candidate for that. And for Jill, I thought it'd be out of jealousy, whereas for Kirby, I thought she'd want to kill people so she could recreate a scary movie. Rebecca was on there until she was alone in a parking garage, as that's always a death sentence. And as for Charlie, well, I didn't think much of him until I realised he could have been doing it all so he could get together with Kirby. And when he was outside, and didn't get stabbed immediately, my suspicions of him were raised higher, and when Kirby started to untie him, I knew he was going to stab her. Kate, I thought, could be angry at Sydney for her sister's death, even though that would be a bit of a rehash of Scream 3 in a way, but I was suspicious of her until she died. Trevor was never on my list, and Robbie was only on there for a second, when I thought he and Charlie could be behind it, but neither of them really seemed like the killer type, or even the surprise killer type for most of the movie. Sorry about my mic quality, something seems to be a bit off today. Before I get onto my thoughts about the movie as a whole, and also who I think killed who, I want to talk about how the movie handled the legacy characters, because that was an area I felt Scream 3 fell flat in. First, Neve Campbell was perfect as always as Sydney, and she was the only character done well in Scream 3, and I'm so glad that she kept her streak in this movie, which I now do hope is the end for her character. Dewey and Gale suffered from bad writing, not bad acting in Scream 3, and this was a great return to form for them. Like Sydney, in the nicest way possible, I hope we don't see them again outside of maybe cameo roles. I'm glad they were still married and stayed together, and for once it was Gale who was stabbed and rushed to hospital. And they managed to be at the denouement without being at the big house at the end, which was great. When I was going into Scream 3, I was sure that one of them was going to die, but I was happy to see them make it out alive. Again, I thought one might die in this, one of the girls especially, but I'm glad that they all got their happy ending, and hopefully this time it's permanent. Now for one of my favourite parts of these videos, who killed who. I always make sure to write this before looking at the consensus on the internet, and I nearly always end up disagreeing with said consensus. Partly it's because I'm doing it from memory, a day after watching the movie, but partly I just disagree. To me, the opening sequence with Marnie and Jenny made it pretty clear that there were multiple Ghostfaces, as I don't think there was any way one person could move around like that, and for that reason I'm giving one kill to Jill and one to Charlie. I personally think that Jill killed Jenny, as I think she's more likely to want to use the garage door to make it similar to the original murders, so that gives Charlie Marnie. Charlie has to be the one who killed Olivia for multiple reasons, and I've got no idea who killed Rebecca because, at least when I was writing this, I couldn't remember who was where when she was killed. I'm going to assume that it was Jill who stabbed the two officers, as she basically outright says she killed her mum, and there's nothing to suggest there were multiple Ghostfaces there. Plus, there's no indication Charlie left the stab-a-thon. I'm pretty sure it was Jill who killed Robbie, but we know that Charlie got the kill on Kirby. Jill then went on to kill Trevor and Charlie, but those don't really count as she wasn't in costume. Though, to be fair, Charlie wasn't in costume when he killed Kirby, but I think that still counts as it was before / kind of during the reveal. So, for the in-costume kills, Jill got Jenny, the two cops, her mum and Robbie, while Charlie only got Olivia, Marnie and kind of Kirby. Even if it was Charlie who killed Rebecca, Jill definitely gets the kill count win in my opinion. That's all well and good, but in this so-called review I haven't actually done much reviewing. I don't think I have anything negative to say about the movie, other than maybe asking for the exact reasons why the people that were killed, and by this I mean Jenny, Marnie and Rebecca, and also Olivia, but I'm willing to overlook that. I think the opening of the movie was very good, and it set a tone for how oversaturated the Stab franchise had become, and set the premise for a reboot. It also allowed for the scenes they were watching to be reused later on in the movie, plus we saw the same snippets from Stab 1 that we'd seen before again in this movie. And also the double fake opening mirrored the fact that there was a double fake ending. This movie managed to have a lot of callbacks, while also having its own new moments, and I'll go through some of my favourites. As for callbacks, we had Jenny running upstairs instead of through the smashed door when she thought Ghostface was behind her, and when Jill stabbed Charlie, he let out a very stew-like moan. Plus there was a quiz questions with your boyfriend tied to a chair, with Kirby and Charlie, though this time with a twist. Kirby acted as a good best friend, the Tatum to Jill Sidney in a way, which fits with Charlie, the stew, being the killer. This movie definitely had the best supporting cast since Scream 1. Plus, of course, Trevor going to be framed was intentionally reminiscent of Scream 1. During that final scene, I wondered if Jill was actually going to get away with it, and if Sidney was actually going to die. Well, I say final scene, but of course, it didn't end up being the final scene. And this brings me nicely onto some unique touches the movie had. The matching stab wound was an instant red flag for me, and I'm glad that Dewey managed to figure it out, even if he did need a bit of help from Gale. Jill monologuing so much actually worked well, from a character study point of view, as it fitted with her twisted delusions of wanting to be a star, and the ending with all of the reporters outside was great as well. The extra shot onto Jill maybe wasn't necessary, but it's basically a tradition at this point. Other moments like the shoulder thing are one of the officers saying rookie just before said rookie got stabbed, plus them talking about I'll be right back and stuff. Just like how my mind immediately clicked on the shoulder thing, as I'm sure it was supposed to, I knew that Ghostface would say, I never said I was in your closet. Plus, thanks to Rebecca, we got what I think is our first parking garage kill in Scream. Also, it was just so good to return to Woodsboro. The last 20 minutes of the movie basically had my mouth frozen open in a silent scream of excitement at all, and had me on the edge of my seat because of how absorbed into the movie I was. While Tatum still holds the Best Kill Sequence award, Billy and Stu hold the Best Ghostfaces award, and Mrs. Loomis holds the Best Twist. This movie was still excellent, and I'd probably place it second in my Scream movie ranking, above Scream 2, and behind the original. But like how Scream 2 is only so good because of Scream 1, this movie needs the previous movies to exist and be as good as it is. I'm going to try and get Scream 5 and 6 watched and reviewed before Scream 7, which I'm hoping to see in cinema, releases. Have a good day and ta-ta. You thought that was the ending, did you? Well, it isn't, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be releasing this movie on the 25th of December, So if you're watching it on the day it comes out, Merry Christmas and have a great day. Ta-ta.